What is the fastest path to your niche? Now, this question came up in discussion with some of our Pro Plus members, where we're talking about if they're in a situation where they may be picking a niche that is not where their background is, not where their experience is. So I want to talk a little bit about that. Let's start here. What would you say is the shortest path between these two dots at the corner here, right? I don't want that. All right, so think about that. What's the shortest path between this dot over here and this dot over here? Now, of course, that is this straight line or the diagonal, right? That is the shortest path. But is that the fastest path? Ooh, well, the shortest path may not be the fastest path because we don't know if we're going to move at the same speed across these paths, right? That's the key thing. So let's take this example, and let's say that I'm a business analyst at Microsoft, which I was, but I wanted to be a rocket scientist at NASA. Now, this, by the way, comes from one of my favorite books, What Color Is Your Parachute, right? And it talks about career change or a big change in, career change essentially, right? So I wanted to be a rocket scientist at NASA. It's going to be really hard for me, right, to try to go this path, try to go directly to this path. That's really challenging. In fact, what the book recommends is either you go this way. So let's say that let's do this one. All right, so let's say I stay at Microsoft, but I stay at Microsoft, but then I become the closest thing there is to a rocket scientist. And again, they might not have the exact position there, but I'm going to be the closest thing to it. Or I could go to NASA, and guess what? I could be a business analyst at NASA. Now, that path, either of these paths, so if you think about it, either of these paths is quite a lot more feasible. And that means it may be faster. It likely is going to be faster. Makes sense, right? And now, of course, once I go this way, if I end up and I'm a business analyst at NASA, I can edge my way. I can talk to those guys like, hey, what do you do? What degrees do you have? Think about the leverage they have, the advantages that I have once I'm there. Or if I'm here, hey, NASA might even come and recruit me. All right. Now, of course, this is a bit of a silly example, but the point that it's trying to underscore is completely valid. And again, guys, this is one of the best-selling career guidebooks in the world. What Color Is Your Parachute? Good advice. So let's say you are here, right? You are in finance, and you are, let's say, so you are in finance, and that's your background, that's where your experience is, that's where your contacts are. Now, if you were to go from there and let's say you want to say, you know what, I really believe in urban gardening. By the way, one of my friends, fellow freedompreneurs, is actually his focus is urban gardening. But yeah, he focuses on helping people do urban gardening, not through Power BI. But maybe this was your thing. And again, I'm just making it up, right? But you're like, yeah, that's who I want to help. And you say, fine, I'm just gonna, go from this to here. And you can see kind of the same as the rocket scientist and NASA example. It's a bit of a stretch. And again, my example is a little bit contrived, but I'm doing that to kind of prove the point, right? And I sometimes, by the way, do this in Power BI as well, where I just kind of exaggerate the scenario. Like people show me the model and say, oh, Avi, but it works. But I'm like, but is it going to work if there are 50 million rows? Okay, right. So yeah, so when you exaggerate it, you can see it more clearly. So it's going to be really hard because, again, you don't have any background, you don't have any experience, and biggest of all, perhaps, you don't have any contacts. You know what they say, right? It's not what you know, it's who you know, right? So yeah, so that can be a little bit challenging path. So of course, it's going to be a faster path, maybe not shorter like here, but faster path if instead let me choose this guy again. If instead you said, so I'm going to stay in finance, right? But I'm going to become a consultant. That's one path you can take. Or you can say, I'm going to move to an urban gardening company, right? But I'm going to get a similar role which I have right now. Maybe a full-time, part-time, or even a consultant role, but in your former position as a finance professional, not necessarily a Power BI consultant. That can be the faster path. Now again, sometimes situations vary depending on where you are. You'll be the best judge to choose the right path, and it could be either one of these. But I really love this example, and I wanted to share that with you. Now I'm going to go and share something else with you as well. Now, of course, you know me, I get carried away, and I talk about big missions, I talk about these infinite games, which are impossible goals. Like one of the ones, there are two that I talk about these days. One is to create a world of Monday joy, right? Where people, so I know the life that I lived where Monday blues started on Sunday evening, right? And then you dragged yourself, and Wednesday was like hump day. That was you're halfway through and say, oh God, it's closed. And Friday, thank God it's Friday. And I lived that every week for months, years, right? And so many people out there live their life like that. I want to change that. That's my big goal, right? And another one is I believe that there is an imbalance. There's an extreme imbalance between kind of the masculine and feminine energy in our world. It's hurting everybody. It's hurting men and women. And I want to bring balance to that. So yeah, big goals. But sometimes what I've found is that you might say that, I'm really focused on urban gardening, right? And I really believe in that and I want to support it. And at finance, yeah, there's no heart in it. But I feel like once you start helping people, and if you go on this route of what we call the personal brand business, you've probably heard me talk about the zebra story, right? So I felt like the odd one out in corporate companies in any of my jobs because I was a zebra among a herd of horses. But if you build the business the way we talk about it, the personal brand business, you're going to attract fellow zebras. So now I work with corporate clients, but I attract my zebras. So even in that arena, whichever space you're in, finance or anything else, if you go on this path, you might attract a different kind of audience. And the world is big, right? I mean, any niche you're choosing, it may feel like small, but it's got lots of people, right? So you're going to attract kind of your kind, which you have the energy match. Now, what that means is that you're probably going to, you might fall in love with it. And helping people is so incredible. And once you kind of experience that, like, hey, this is really fun. And what that can do is that can still fuel, if you do have a bigger passion, bigger mission, say, hey, I believe in urban gardening, the world needs it. Well, kind of this can fuel that. And in that way, that may be the shortest and the fastest path to your goal. Last bit I will say is that go with this goal, but go with a loose grip, right? So sometimes we're like, oh, I want to get to this place, but I want to take this route. Well, do you really care if you're going to get to the goal? Do you care how you get there? You shouldn't, because often that's where we get stuck. We get stuck in the how. And we're so fixated on one path, we don't even realize here we are hitting our head against a wall when there's a door right next to you. You can walk through that door, my friend. You're like, no. Yeah. All right. So yeah, set your goals, leave a loose grip, trust the universe. All right. Power on, my friends.